Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's show, this clock is going to become a bonsai pot. Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. In the sense that I have a branch that splits into two shoots in here, so I'm probably going to cut this thing off right about here this fall. I've taken my knob cutter and I've gotten rid of some of that. So I just put them on the bottom, growing upwards into the bag. We fill it up with trees and then we water as we need to. We try to get rid of those air pockets. So forgive me for the sunglasses. I don't typically like to shoot with sunglasses on, but it's so incredibly bright outside because the sun is out again for about the 7th, 8th, or 9th day in a row. So in Minnesota this winter, we had about 2 days of full sun in November, I think 4 days in December, and then I think 2 in January. It's been a very gray winter. But for the last week plus, we've had just glorious sunshine, which means it has been absolutely gorgeous. And a little more snow melt on top of it. But it really feels like spring. It wants to be spring. It's the 1st of March, and everything's starting to drip, and it just feels like we're ready to turn that corner. But of course, we can't. For starters, we got some water in there, but we got some ice. Yeah, all this stuff is still frozen solid. That means that we're not going to be able to touch it for a while. I bet you if I give these a little tug, they won't even come off the frozen ground. Yeah, this one looks like it's going to fall over, and it's frozen solid. So that means we can't do that. So that is why I was going to start my project to make the old clock into a bonsai pot. Some of these trees out here might end up in a little forest within that clock pot. So I'm looking forward to that. But I've got to prep it. So since I can't do anything with my trees today that are all outside in this beautiful 45-degree weather, let's go and start drilling some holes in the clock to prepare that to become a bonsai forest pot. So because it's such a glorious day, I've got to check our cold frames and make sure that with all this now new heat and the sun's getting higher and higher, check the cold frame for dryness in the soil, and we also going to check for any pre-budding that's going out. Things that are wanting to leaf out and get started. And look back there. We got some growth right here. Yeah, brand new stuff right here. Wants to get going. Things are waking up. And of course, the quince repot from a couple weeks back now, those buds have sustained, not gotten any bigger. That's good. And this guy right here, a variety of juniper that I'm still trying to figure out which juniper it is. Got it at the auction, and the owner is deciding between two varieties. So we'll do some more research before I tell you something false. So the cold frame is looking good. Soil is feeling pretty good. This one is nice and moist. This one feels pretty good. That one's still moist on the top anyway. I think we're good. Back to the clock. So let's check out our work for today. So I've got my drill, and here's our clock that I gave you a tease on last night. And this was a clock, and when it wasn't working anymore and we thought about throwing it away, I looked at it and said, look at that pot. Look at that bonsai pot in the making. It's got this little scuff mark for decoration, but it's a really great height. It's only about 1 inch or so in depth. And I can get a nice little mound of soil here and create a little Minnesota forest. So my goal is to create a Minnesota forest with the old infinity clock. In order to do that, we got to make sure that we have appropriate drain holes. And I'm also going to drill a whole bunch of little holes for wire to go through to tie on all these trees that will be going in here so I can position them where I want to. So this is one of those long projects that's going to be several stages. I'll film this over the course of the next couple of weeks. And by the time I'm done preparing the pot and we get a little bit more melt, perhaps those trees that we just were talking about down in the backyard will be loose enough and thawed enough for me to start working. It's a couple weeks away. I always get excited, but at least we get to do some work. So we'll put a couple of drain holes around here. This one already exists in the middle. It's a little small though. We'll make some drain holes, and then we'll also get a smaller bit and make some places for the wire to come up to tie some trees down. So let's get our tools ready and get drilling. What will I use? I don't know if we'll get this guy through the plastic or not. It should. It's worth a try. Let's give it a try. All right, we're going to see if this actually starts to drill through this at all. There we go. That'll work nice as a drill hole. Let's make some more. So those holes turned out pretty good. Now my biggest concern about this great big clock, this is about 2 feet in length here, maybe about 18 inches. And it kind of sinks and bows in the middle. So if I do a couple more drill holes here, I'm going to weaken the structure. So what I'm considering doing is putting a piece of board from here to here, and maybe from here to the board and here to the board, and I can attach it by screwing it on right here to the wood, and then that'll kind of keep a nice firm, because if you can look at just a little bit of pushing, I can get a little bit of movement with that. And if I drill some more holes in here, it's going to be even weaker. I think that'll suffice for the drain holes. We got plenty of drain holes, but then now here it's pushing down. So first I'll drill some of the small holes for the wires to go through, and then we'll worry about the bottom piece. I think this should work. So there we have it. The infinity clock now is prepared. We got all kinds of drainage holes, and we've got all kinds of little holes that we can put wires through. Whole bunch to choose from. Now let's look at the back and see if we can figure that out. One thing I got from my father over the years is not throwing away a lot of wood, lumber, pieces, parts. Now I'm getting better at throwing some stuff out, you know, purging once in a while, but I always keep a little extra stack of lumber. You know, I even got a nice place to put it in, an old garbage can. I got wood laying around. I always keep the scraps until they're so small I just don't think I'm going to use them. So I'm going to take the leftover wood and see if we can make something on the back of this clock. So got a thin piece of plywood here that once it's tucked in will be below the lip, so it won't create any change in how the pot sits. But if I can cut this, get a nice curve shape here, a nice curve shape here, so this kind of fits in here real snug, and then I will drill from the bottom a couple of places for this wood to sit. Now, of course, if I do that, I'm going to lose some of my drain holes. But that's okay, we can drill more drain holes and just make it work. If I go maybe this way, I only block a portion of one. So let's do some measurements and see what we can do. So first I'm just going to measure the diameter, the inside diameter here of this. We're at about 20 3/4. A little bit more than 20 3/4. So the first thing I'm going to do is mark 20 3/4. Or did I say 21 3/4? As they always teach you in wood shop, or your father has probably taught you, measure twice and cut once. There we go. So as I measure this out, it's 20 3/4, a little bit more. So we're going to go 20 7/8, just so we don't make this shorter than it needs to be. Get my square in there. And there we go. We can make a cut. So I've set up my saw here. If there's one thing I've come to appreciate over the years, having good saws, having good tools, makes life a lot easier. I'm going to go ahead and give this a cut. Let's bring the clock back in and see if it works. So now I purposely made it a little bit too big, because all I want to do is I want to go ahead and trim the corners just a little bit here and here and see if we can kind of force it on in there. So back to the saw. I don't know if you can see that 50 in there, but I can only make a 50-degree cut with this saw right here. So unless I take the whole arm off, no, I can't. Yep, right there. As far as I can go. 50 is the farthest we can go, so we're just going to go ahead and put the board on here and just cut a little bit of the corner off. We just want to make sure, we just want to cut just the slightest bit of the corner off, and then we'll see if it fits. $50 is all I can make this cut on my saw. So we got the board here. We're just going to get a little bit of this trimmed off so we can get a little bit of a curve. I have a jigsaw. I can make it, but I got so little to cut off. I'm just going to cut a little bit of a nudge off and try to force this board in there as tight as I can get it in there. Let's give it a saw. Go ahead and do the other side. Turn it over, do the other side. And the last side. All right, moment of truth. All right. So, as I assumed, these were a little bit too much of an angle, but now I can just cut a little bit off this angle here, slowly but surely, and I can just put that in the saw the way it is now, and just make it work. Let's see if we can make it work. So, I've got enough grip right here on this side of the saw that I can hold it here and just shave a little bit off. So we're going to go ahead and do that. That one was a little deeper. More trims in place. Whoa, there we go. I was able to get it just enough so we can just force in this part right here, and that's of course loose. We come down to this side. Ooh, much cleaner. Nice. But now this isn't going to move. I can actually pick up the clock with this, which is good. So then what I'll do is I'll drill from this side onto that wood so it won't go anywhere and it won't shift. And I'll just put a screw up here and a screw back here and maybe one or two in the middle, and then everything will be in place. And that'll make sure that this doesn't have too far to travel. Let's find some screws. So I discovered in the back of the clock we have a little issue. Right here. You got these bumps right in the middle that are sticking up. I've already dremelled one off. I wanted to practice. Let's get the other 3 off. All right, so I've got some screws here. I got a path right here that'll mean the less coverage of drain holes. So I'll pop the hole. Right there, I only cover 1 drain hole. Right there. So now we're gonna go ahead and drill. We'll just get 4 screws right in here. And one final one. I got a pre-hole drilled right there from the wire holes. There. Now, I got this drilled in. Provide a little support for the middle. There we have it. All right. So that does it. Phase 1 is over. I've got all the holes drilled for drainage. I got the holes drilled for some wires to come up. Got some support in the back. Now I have to wait for more thawing to take place and just more figuring out how I'm going to make this work. All right, we'll film later. Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. In the sense that I have a branch that splits into 2 shoots in here, so I'm probably going to cut this thing off right about here this fall. I've taken my knob cutter and I've gotten rid of some of that. So I just put them on the bottom, growing upwards into the bag. We fill it up with trees and then we water as we need to. Try to get rid of those air pockets.